Hello, welcome to projectmanagement02pro.com. This is Hassan Mir. In this tutorial, I'll talk about project stakeholders. In few tutorials back, you learned that when an assignment is given to you, you ask three questions. Is it a project? Who are the stakeholders and what are the characteristics? Okay, so in the previous tutorial, you learned differences between a project and an operation. You need to identify if the assignment given to you falls under operation or is it a project. Okay, in this tutorial we'll talk about stakeholders. You need to identify who are the stakeholders if the task given to you falls under a project category. Okay, so who would be the stakeholders? So this green box here is indicating a project. You have goals and objectives to meet, and you design certain activities as a project manager to meet the goals and objectives, and you have certain resources in your hand. Okay, and who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are those people who have vested interest in your goals and objectives. Okay, so not necessarily people, they could be other corporations as well. Now, if you are able to meet your goals and objectives beyond expectations of the stakeholders, or you are at par as far as their expectation is concerned, then they're happy. If they're happy, the project is successful. Okay, so the bottom line of this rule is, if they're happy, project is successful. If they're not happy, project is a failure. Okay, so now as you can see, all of these stakeholders are upset because either you did not meet your objectives, or even if you think you have met your objectives, but the quality was not good, and the bottom line is that stakeholders are not happy. Okay, so they play a very important role. Now let's talk about stakeholders further. They have something to gain or lose in the project. Okay, so that's why we said they had vested interest in the project. They're actively involved in the project. Okay, they could have conflicting interest among themselves, but they have interest in the project. Okay, so this is important to note. Now these are few examples of stakeholders. All of them may not be applicable in each project. Okay, it all depends on the nature of the project and on the nature of the business. The most important person is the project sponsor. So he is an executive from the organization in which the project is being run, and he has authority over most of the decisions. Okay, and he can force decisions, he can dedicate resources. So he's a very important person as far as the project manager is concerned. So he's definitely a stakeholder in the project. Customers could be the stakeholders, suppliers could be the stakeholders. It all depends on the nature of the project. Like if they are being affected, then they have interest in the project. Okay, board of directors have interest in the project. Project manager himself has a vested interest in the project. Okay, other managers, like managers of other departments, could be stakeholders as well. Team members of the actual project team, they have interest in the project as well. And the project management office, that could be a stakeholder if it exists in the company. So what is the role of a project manager? So far we have understood that there are stakeholders as far as the project is concerned. Okay, and we have seen few examples, and we have seen we have learned like why could they be interested in the project. Now what is the role of a project manager? So project manager basically will be doing mainly these four things. Okay, so early in the project manager would be identifying all the stakeholders. if he misses to one or few stakeholders to be identified and we are deep in the project, then it is a failure. Okay, so it's very important to identify all the stakeholders early in the project. So project manager then meet with the stakeholders. Why he meets with the stakeholders? He meets with the stakeholders because he needs to understand the needs and constraints that the stakeholders have in their mind about the project. Okay, once that done, project manager might note that some of the interests of the stakeholders are conflicting. Okay, so he would be resolving all the conflicts. If a customer is in the picture, as far as the conflict is concerned, then mostly the resolution would be in favor of the customers. Now, another very important thing that a project manager does is to manage the expectations of stakeholders, because sometimes stakeholders are expecting too much out of the project. Okay, and when the project is finished, as far as the stakeholders are concerned, they are not happy because they were expecting too much. So the success of the project greatly lies in project manager managing the expectations of the of stakeholders. Okay, so these are the four things that a project manager does, so it's important to keep that in mind. So I'll see you in next tutorial.